하나, 둘, 셋. 지금은 파이팅!
소녀시대.
Sometimes you gotta be bold. Just rock the world.
Red Velvet.
트와이스 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
블랙핑크 축하드립니다.
Wait, how did all of this happen? With all the girl groups out there, who really is the nation's girl group? One group to represent the whole country of Korea. Could it be Red Velvet, the group from SM Entertainment where Girls' Generation, the first nation's girl group, was from? Or TWICE, the girl group powerhouse of Korea and Japan? Or even Blackpink, who put up monster numbers and have tons of fans across the world? To figure it all out, we have to look at the group's past, sales, and impact on the Korean music and culture. But before we find out who really is the nation's girl group, let's hear a word from our sponsor. You know, sometimes you have to convey your thoughts on paper. I mean, it would be useful for school, university, or work, especially now since everything is online. Even now, me as a YouTuber, I am writing more than ever, creating scripts for almost every single video. And no matter what you're writing, you want to seem a little bit professional and be effective and concise. That is where today's sponsor comes in, Grammarly. What's Grammarly? Well, think about it as your digital writing assistant. Grammarly is an easy-to-use service you add on to your browser extension with a few clicks, and boom, Grammarly starts working as soon as you start typing. Always going back and forth between your document and websites to find perfect synonyms to make your writing a little bit more colorful, Grammarly saves you time with that with vocabulary suggestions. It's definitely helped me out before. Also, Clarity AI helps cut down on unnecessarily long sentences. It also helps with preventing plagiarism by checking your writing across over 16 billion web pages to make sure that your writing is completely your own. And a feature that I think is really dope is the tone transform. It's like a mood indicator that senses the tone of your writing. So if you're interested and want to try it out, please go to grammarly.com/internetsnathan to sign up for your free account and get 20% off a Grammarly premium account today. Big thanks to Grammarly for sponsoring, and now back to the video. Let's take a look at Girls' Generation, who is the first to receive the title. Girls' Generation debuted in 2007, and at the time, K-pop was largely dominated by male idols and groups. So when Girls' Generation came around, they were the perfect counter to the norm and filled a void in K-pop. However, their first 2 years were above average as far as sales and popularity for the group. It wasn't till 2009 when everything changed, with the release of the K-pop classic, G. And with that album, they sold over 100,000 copies and began the tremendous rise to the nation's girl group, even taking on America. Although we don't really talk about that.
So we've been all together for a pretty long time.
So we're kind of like
Your
sisters.
English is very good.
I was born in America.
And I
Your English is very good.
Thank you so much. I studied so hard.
Now, how did they really get the name the nation's girl group? It was given to them by Korean news and media outlets. Their major popularity, along with an all-Korean member lineup, visuals, and musical impact and influence is what made Girls' Generation worthy of the title. Also, everybody in the entire country knew who Girls' Generation were. Male, female, old, young, ask anyone on the street in Korea in the early 2000s to the 2010s who Girls' Generation were, and you would easily get an answer. But when the group went on a hiatus with some members' contracts expiring with SM Entertainment, you would imagine that the prestigious title would be passed down into the newest group from the same company, and that would be Red Velvet.
Got me feeling like a psycho.
Debuting in 2014 after Girls' Generation and FX, Red Velvet was the obvious choice. But in fact, it really wasn't. For some odd reason I haven't been able to put together, before debut, when they debuted, and when Yeti was added to the group, they were like the most controversial group to come out of the big three. They were getting a bunch of hate, and the reasons were kinda obvious. Debuting at a time when Chinese members of EXO were locked in lawsuits against SM, people thought it was bad timing to debut a new girl group, and it seemed rushed. On top of that, fans of FX criticized the company for debuting a new girl group when FX was only 4 years old. This could be why the Korean press were hesitant to label Red Velvet the nation's girl group so soon. But you can't deny that Red Velvet has put all of the doubts away and have become one of the biggest girl groups in recent history. Now, doing a bit of research for this video, the term that I've seen Red Velvet labeled as instead of the nation's girl group is the nation's pride. And thinking about it, that made sense. Although I have seen Red Velvet also labeled the nation's girl group in some articles, but you know. But to me, the name the nation's pride actually fits perfectly. Here's why. Red Velvet, like Girls' Generation, have all Korean members, yet they were able to do things differently. They were one of the few K-pop acts chosen to perform in Pyongyang, North Korea for Korean peace relations, the first girl group to do it in 10 years. Red Velvet is also highly respected by the Korean public and the Korean government for their efforts outside of music. Red Velvet are ambassadors for the Red Cross and UNICEF. Now, I know the whole Irene thing is going on right now, but I'm going to not include this at this point since the story is still developing. Red Velvet was the creators of some of K-pop's biggest hits like Dum Dum, Red Flavor, Peekaboo, Bad Boy, and Psycho. But one surprising thing that Red Velvet does is they actually compete with TWICE on sales in the US. Without proper US promotions except for one US tour, Red Velvet hit 3 #1 albums on the US iTunes chart and 4 #1s on the Billboard World Album chart, doing it with their latest hit, Psycho. That's impressive due to promotions in Korea being cut short. They still won 3 times in a row on Music Core and Nikigayo, getting their 3rd Triple Crown ever with 9 wins in total. Okay, Red Velvet are really strong and powerful, but what about their worldwide sensation counterparts? Blackpink has been in our area since 2016, the youngest girl group of the new generation from the big 3. Like TWICE, Blackpink is multicultural, having Korean members, yet Jennie and Rosé grew up in Australia and New Zealand learning English. Lisa comes from Thailand, representing Southeast Asia. So in Korea's eyes, Blackpink aren't the epitome of the Korean nationality. However, Blackpink's rise in worldwide popularity is historic in this generation of K-pop. But that wasn't done by accident. Created with the members of the backgrounds I mentioned, YG Entertainment knew what market they would attract. But a problem Blackpink faced that they couldn't do really anything about was lack of promotions. Groups like G-Idol, Everglow, and Mamamoo captured Korean fans over the past year, and with that year break between Kill This Love and their latest release How You Like That, those other girl groups rose to get the attention of fans of Blackpink, which was only temporary. People were dying for anything Blackpink. But remember when Blackpink made headlines by performing at Coachella? Americans and celebrities fell for Blackpink. No other girl group in history has been leading the rise of K-pop with 6 #1 digital songs on the Billboard charts. And now with the major comeback of the album. Yes, it's the album everybody was crying for since the beginning of time. Blackpink now has a #1 album as it blitzed into the Billboard Hot 100 at 59 with Lovesick Girls. And just days ago, the album became a million seller in only 20 days. There's literally no one comparable that is doing that for K-pop and is a female act. Now, I listed all those reasons because the title The Nation's Girl Group doesn't really fit for Blackpink. It's like putting a square peg in a round hole. That doesn't look right. And finally, the literal definition of a K-pop sensation, TWICE. JYP Entertainment has been a leader in K-pop for years, with breakout idol groups like G.O.D, 2PM, Wonder Girls, Miss A, and GOT7. But in 2015, JYP Entertainment would find and polish their hidden gems in their trainee pool. We met the talented trainees competing to be JYP's next girl group. These performances and voting on the show were the first step for TWICE to become the nation's girl group. Now, as we know, it's very well known that TWICE are the nation's girl group now. But how did they get crowned that name over Red Velvet and Blackpink? TWICE came from a whole different company than Girls' Generation in JYP. TWICE is a larger group like Girls' Generation, but members come from different nationalities like Blackpink, with 3 Japanese members that helped TWICE dominate in Japan, selling over 2 million albums in the country, right behind, guess who? Girls' Generation, and sold out the biggest venue, the Tokyo Dome, for 2 nights in only minutes. But what really did it for TWICE was the music. For some reason or another, TWICE music, even back when JYP was producing it, felt familiar. It appealed to a larger number of listeners, young and young adults. A crutch many would say Twice used, playing it safe with their music and concepts. But with songs like Dance the Night Away, Fancy, Feel Special, More and More, and the latest shift into the mature and unique concepts like I Can't Stop Me, Twice will gain even more and more fans. Twice also became sensations by having viral moments numerous times in Korea, with a bunch of people online searching for fan cams, key choreography points, and Kimbap. Twice became known very, very fast. Don't believe me? Just go ahead and ask Koreans themselves. Now I hear you saying this is all opinion and not fact. Okay, I understand. But one thing that is fact is sales. If you combine Red Velvet and Blackpink's sales in Korea all together, they still aren't even anywhere near Twice's numbers. Twice dominates the girl group category, obtaining 37% of sales among all girl groups, competing with top boy groups when no other girl group are. Twice won 97 first place on music shows, on track to becoming the next group with the most in K-pop history. Twice are also winners of 15 daesangs and 3 straight years of Song of the Year at Mama, having lifetime sales of 9 million copies over a 5-year career. Not only that, but Korean news just loves to talk about them. Now, while Twice doesn't have competition in Korea, they do lack internationally. Twice, with 12 EPs and albums released, only had one #1, and this could be where Twice and JYP makes moves next. Looking back at the Twice Lights tour in 2019, Twice had the 3rd biggest K-pop tour in the USA, selling it out in fact, behind BTS and Blackpink, slightly, raking in just over $30 million, doing it without any real American press or interviews. An American push by Twice could be in the cards sooner than you think. Now, the title of the nation's girl group belongs to Twice. For now. With the introduction of a whole new generation in K-pop, led by G-Idol, Loona, Itzy, and SM Entertainment's new girl group aespa, that means the crown could soon be up for grabs. Alright y'all, that's it for me. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like and remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a new video. Now, it's been a while since I did a more analytical and, serious discussion like a TED Talk about K-pop, and I wanted to talk about this topic, the nation's girl group. Does it really have that much importance, and do you really think Twice are the nation's girl group? Could it be Red Velvet or Blackpink? Let me know down in the comments below, and who you think could be the next nation's girl group. This is a very interesting topic, and I love to have a discussion down in the comments. Now I want to give a big shout out to the people on Patreon making these videos happen, especially the new patrons Julia Sistera and Fanman. And of course, big thanks to Grammarly for sponsoring today. If you want to check it out, link down in the description. I actually wrote the script for this video using Grammarly, and it definitely was a big help. But anyways, Wave, that's it for me. Hopefully you enjoyed. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one. 안녕.